Your Excellency, Ambassador Mr. Ihor Ostash, honored guests, friends, and colleagues. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this conference on Ahatanhel Krymsky and Lebanon at the American University of Beirut. My name is Bilal Orfali. I'm the Sheikh Zayed Chair for Arabic and Islamic Studies and the Chair of the Department of Arabic and Middle Eastern Languages here at UB. Today we meet on the occasion of the 150th anniversary of Krymsky, a scholar who needs no introduction to anyone in this room, and by this room I mean the physical room and the virtual room. A renowned Arabist, philologist, linguist, expert in 35 languages, and I was told he actually knew 52 languages. Literary scholar, folklorist, writer, poet, and translator. Krymsky was one of the founders of the All-Ukrainian Academy of Sciences. Today his legacy survives in his numerous books and through his students, several generations of outstanding Ukrainian philologists. Some of them are here. In memory of a towering figure like Krymsky, we celebrate much more than the person. We celebrate scholarship, excellence, friendship between cultures, and the pursuit of knowledge. To commemorate a scholar of this stature, we need a series of conferences. So our aim today is to celebrate Krymsky and Lebanon. From 1896 to 1898, Krymsky lived in Lebanon and Syria, where he studied the Arabic language and Islam and gathered a rich collection of documents and materials about this region of the Ottoman Empire, its traditions, customs, and life stories. His scientific and epistolary heritage includes a significant number of works on the history, literature, and culture of Lebanon, Syria, Turkey, Iran, studies in semiology, history of Islam, and history of the Ukrainian literature and language, folklore, and ethnography. His time in Lebanon occupies a special place in Krymsky's biography, as it was his first personal encounter with the Arabic Orient. He stayed mainly in Beirut and Shuair, lived with a Lebanese family, actively studied the Arabic language and its colloquial particularities. He worked in manuscript repositories and libraries and wrote for Arabic periodicals and newspapers, including the celebrated Mashriq Journal, which still continues until today. Krymsky witnessed the life of Lebanese people in the Ottoman Empire at the end of the 19th century during the Arab Nahda. Indeed, his experience in Lebanon greatly inspired his works, as he wrote the Beirut cycle of poems titled Palm Tree Branches, and his correspondence with his relatives about life in Lebanon provided the basis for. While organizing this conference, I kept thinking about what Krymsky would write if he were to see Lebanon today. The Lebanon that Krymsky saw more than a century ago was certainly a more beautiful one. However, I think if he were to visit Lebanon now, he would still comment on the hospitality of its people, and he would have enjoyed the vibrant discussions in this campus and in Beirut and Lebanon in general. This campus, in particular, would have been an ideal home for Krymsky, a rock of scholarship at the shore of the Mediterranean. I would offer to organize a conference with him and perhaps author a book together if I'm lucky. However, I am sure he would be so proud to see so many Ukrainian Arabists, and even better, one of them is an UB PhD student who helped organize this very conference, Ms. Oksana Prohorovich. Oksana, thank you for continuing this legacy and for all your excellent work in organizing this conference. His Excellency, Mr. Ihor Ostash, suggested this conference in the very first place, co-sponsored it, followed the details of its organization during a challenging period in Lebanon and the whole world. And that's why we kept postponing it. His love for Ukraine, Lebanon, and Arabic are more contagious than the coronavirus. It was a pleasure. I would like to thank the staff of the Ukrainian Embassy and the Sheikh Zayed Administrative Assistant, Ms. Aida Abbas, for their dedication and help. I wish you a very fruitful conference and very welcome to AU.
Dear Dr. Bilal, dear friends, Your Excellencies, participants of the conference, members of the university staff, and distinguished guests. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to American University of Beirut and personally to the President, Mr. Fadl Khouri, and Dr. Bilal Orfali, Sheikh Zayed Chair for Arabic and Islamic Studies, Chairman of the Department of Arabic and Near Eastern Languages. On the occasion of the 150th anniversary of Ahatanhel Krymsky, the prominent Ukrainian orientalist, scientist, writer, translator, we have the honor to hold today the International Academic Conference, Ahatanhel Krymsky and Lebanon. The place of this event is not accidental. We would like to mention that American University of Beirut has deep scientific ties with Ukraine, and Ivan Rubinsky, the famous scientist, engineer, and constructor of Ukrainian origin, who worked in AUB from 1926 till 1967. He was a professor emeritus, and he was awarded by the Order of Cedars by the Lebanese government. And also, Ahatanhel Krymsky visited area of AUB, American University of Beirut, and described it in his letters, works, and it was the famous, I used the French word, promenade of Ahatanhel Krymsky in Beirut. Today, we have gathered here to commemorate the life and scientific works of Ahatanhel Krymsky, who lived in Lebanon in 1896-1898. As mentioned already Bilal, he stayed in Beirut and Shuair, in the Lebanese house, Lebanese family, and worked on manuscripts, collected a rich material about the customs, traditions, and life of Lebanese people, the particularities of the Arabic language in this region. We learn about his life and about Lebanon of that time from his letters, and in total he wrote just to relatives and friends about 180 letters. His daily observation of life in Lebanon, set forth in the letters, was used for his book, Beirut Stories, through which the Ukrainian, and not only Ukrainian reader, for the first time discovered the Middle East region. His stay in Lebanese land inspired also a scientist to write the Beirut cycle of poems, Palm Branches. In many of his letters, Krymsky with nostalgia compares Lebanon and Ukraine, finding many interesting parallels. So, in his two letters from Shuair, he writes about geographical similarities. Lebanon reminds me my Ukraine in many respects. I mean, its climate is quite moderate. The greenery has the original freshness. All summit of Mount Sanin reminded me of our Ukrainian spring, or the time in the end of March. The sun is warm, but the wind is cool and the ground is cold. It's about Lebanon and Ukraine. Thanks to the cooperation between the Embassy of Ukraine in Lebanon and Ahmadaddin Raif, the famous Lebanese translator, writer, journalist, the works of Ahatanhel Krymsky, Beirut Stories and Palm Branches were translated from Ukrainian into Arabic and published. And so now the literary heritage of Ahatanhel Krymsky is closer to the Lebanese audience. I just show you two fantastic books of Ahatanhel Krymsky in Arabic language translated by Ahmadaddin Raif. In 2018, in the municipality of Shweir, we opened the museum exposition devoted to Ahatanhel Krymsky, composed from his letters from Lebanon to his relatives in Ukraine and from photos of the stay in Shweir. We also gifted Shweir municipality a sculptural composition of Ahatanhel Krymsky made by Pierre Karam, the famous Lebanese sculptor who studied in Kyiv Academy of Fine Arts. In the future, we hope to open the Museum of Ahatanhel Krymsky in Shweir and to issue the Lebanese postal stamp dedicated to Ukrainian scientists, and we work on this issue together with Mr. Berjavi. I hope it will be done maybe in the nearest months. Thanks to this conference, we hope that the heritage of Ukrainian scientists will become closer to the scientific Lebanese community and to the Arab world in the whole. I would like sincerely to thank all those people and institutions who helped us to prepare this event. American University of Beirut, represented by Bilal, Dr. Bilal Orfali. Again, Ahatanhel Krymsky Institute of Oriental Studies in Ukraine. National Academy of Science of Ukraine. National Academy of Science of Ukraine, as well as Marina Hrimich, Viktor Kiktenko, Danilo Radivilo, Oksana Prohorovich, Andrei Kornichuk, Tamara Rachnyanska. And finally, I'd like to fulfill my very important mission as the ambassador of Ukraine to Lebanon. For the last 4 years, we printed over 11 books. Mostly it's translation from Ukrainian to Arabic, but it's also Mazepa Injil, Mazepa Gospel. We'll talk about this book a bit later. It's also translations of Ivan Franko, famous Ukrainian poet, Lesia Ukrainka, also Ahatanhel Krymsky, 2 books, and History of Ukraine, and my book, Ukrainian Lebanon. It's a very long time took us to print these books, and today also we'll watch very short extract from the film Ukrainian Lebanon. Okay, it's my great pleasure to pass to you to the library of American University. It's this fantastic collection of books. Thank you very much for a fantastic job.
Thank you so much. These are valuable additions to our collection, and MA and PhD students and scholars will definitely use them. And we hope to have more PhD students also from Ukraine in the future. We're working on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.